All right, I got Jesse on the line. He's another musician that reached out about the interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Hey, my name is Jesse Goin. I'm a local musician and performer. I perform under the persona of Johnny Sincerely. So I do solo shows occasionally as Johnny Sincerely, but my main project is the Johnny Sincerely Orchestra, which is my six-piece band, and we play around the Twin Cities a lot. I also do occasionally do some emceeing, and I work a lot with the variety show circus community as a backing band for certain kind of shows. And yeah, I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. So let's talk about how this all got started for you. Tell me about when music first came into your life. What do you think it was about your personality type that connected to music?
So I grew up in a very musical household. My dad was a music critic for like avant-garde, minimalist, fringe music stuff. So I grew up listening to like Iggy Pop and Nirvana, but also like Ornette Coleman and Steve Reich and like the whole spectrum of music. And then, but I wasn't a musician until my late 20s. I wanted to be a fiction writer, actually. So I spent most of my 20s working on a novel that will never see the day of light. It's awful. And short stories and prose poems and stuff like that. And then I worked at a pawn shop for several years and picked up a guitar, like a cheap guitar there, and started fiddling around with it and writing songs. Like that's why I bought it, was to write songs. And I was like, oh, this is my avenue. This, like, I was never happy with the fiction stuff. Like it just never felt quite right. And then as soon as I picked up a guitar and started applying my writing to song, everything clicked. And we actually still perform some of the first songs I ever wrote over 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago.
Okay, so it kind of just came to you in that environment. It happened to almost literally just fall into your hands, and it worked out like that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that initial learning process, about learning the instrument and kind of fumbling your way into beginning writing with it.
Well, the writing came easier because I'd been doing that. The instrument, as you know so well, it's just hours put in. You just have to put in hours. So I would just sit on my couch for 8 hours and learn how to play an E chord. And then
Sure.
like and then we graduated to A minor.
Mm.
And then we eventually got to G, and then F was a son of a gun because you have to bar chord it. So the songwriting aspect came much more naturally. The instrumentation part was a much more arduous journey. And then guitar was my instrument until COVID. And then I wanted to like switch up my sound, switch up my vibe. So I started learning piano, and that's what I play now, for 98% of what I do. And so it just, if you get obsessed with something, you can figure it out.
So I always like to ask people that kind of make that transition from guitar to piano of how much of the skill set from guitar do you think directly translated into learning piano?
I think there was some basic, super basic music theory that you learn of like, okay, this is a fifth, or, you know, this is like a minor third or whatever. Um, but I would recommend to anybody if like piano is so it came much more naturally to me, just the way I could see it. Like I could visualize where everything was. So it definitely helped. Um, but I think if I had started on piano, the transition to guitar might have been a little bit more fluid. Most of what I was writing at that time was three chords. So if you figure out like 1 4 5 or whatever, you can figure that out on piano. I
Sure,
used to
sure.
never do anything that involved black keys because those are so hard. Those are so
Sure.
much harder.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of the conceptualization behind it, because you mentioned that a lot of this ambition to get into songwriting also stemmed from the fictional writing. So tell me a little bit about how that kind of became the focus of it, because you mentioned the concept of songwriting, which kind of makes me lean towards more that you're the singer songwriter type. So using just some intrinsic information, I would assume that means that you're also kind of focused on your own solo project and then have a lineup that kind of fills in the instrumentation for that.
Yeah, that's really perceptive. That's um in a way. So when I started, so this was all like I think 12 years ago or 10 years ago that I started to learn guitar and like got into um and at that time I was doing very singer-songwriter blues folk oriented stuff. Um what we do now as a band is not that. It's everything I write now is meant to be performed live with my 6 piece band. And a lot of times I don't even play an instrument. I just front, like I just sing, and I'm not. Um, but if I had to this day, if I had to classify myself in like what my art form is, I think of myself as a writer, not as a musician, even though I've developed some proficiency on instruments. Um, but I'm not good at doing covers how they actually
Mm-hmm.
sound.
Sure.
Like it's everything I do is filtered through my own creative vision.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And so that kind of leads into what my next question is about that creative vision. Um, what do you think kind of the driving force was to create your own kind of, for lack of a better term, cinematic universe? Because obviously you're very stylized in the way that you approach making your music. Tell me a little bit about the motivation and inspiration for the direction that you went in.
Dang, you ask good questions. I gotta think about them. Um, um, what I well, let me get around to that. So I've always been um, attracted to this thing that we call like punk, like this like what is fighting against what everything else is going on in a way. And I'm like a professional sound engineer and I've worked in venues for years. And what I noticed was where music is at now, and for a lot of people, for a lot of artists, is it's very personal. It's very, uh, what would be the journalistic? Oh, it's almost like their personal. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to be silly. I want to create a character. I want to do something that's the opposite of that. Um, so none of my songs are personal. They're all written from a character, with Johnny Sincerely. Um, and they're all intended to be played live. Like it's just to have, and it's all fun. Like the goal is to be fun, and hopefully you can have some like emotional interest in there too, and be a little vulnerable in some ways. But my thought process was I want to get away from this vulnerable, like I'm bearing my soul thing. So yeah, so I
Okay.
created Johnny Sincerely, and now we call it carnival rock and roll. It's a mix of like some blues and like New Orleans kind of vibes, but also European music hall, fun, lively.
Sure. So I know you've been out there doing shows as the Johnny Sincerely Band, and earlier you kind of suggested that you're kind of moving in a direction to kind of transition into, Jesse Goin as Johnny Sincerely and the rest of the band. So tell me a little bit about kind of where you're at right now. What's kind of going on with the Johnny Sincerely Orchestra, and where do you think the direction is going?
Well, when we talked about that earlier, my original idea was I was going to create Johnny Sincerely and have no connection to Jesse with it. Like I wanted it to be mysterious. Like who is this guy? Like like nobody could figure it out. But that's not how social media works.
Right.
That's what I learned. So I was like, oh shit. Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah,
Can I
that's fine. That's fine.
curse? Okay. Um, so I've been coming to terms more with being like, no, I'm a dude named Jesse, and I've created this persona, this project, and I think that's actually more intriguing than trying to make some mysterious person that, but it's so hard to promote shows if you can't like use your real name. um so yeah, so we're figuring that out, and we released an EP earlier this year, which was kind of a concept album EP called the Carnival of Love and Blues, and it all has a carnival theme to it. And then we're going to start recording a full length album in the coming months, which will not be themed like that, but will still have a lot of influence.
Okay, so you've got plans to put out more albums, write more material, and then also continue doing shows. Where do you kind of see this, in 5 to 10 years? What are your large scale ambitions for the project?
I wish I could. My ambition is to keep playing music with the people that I play music with. But as far as I'm a very restless creative, and we've been doing this sound for the last 4 years, basically. So I think we might start to transition in a slightly different direction. But my only ambition is to keep playing music with the band members that I'm very fortunate to have.
Sure, that's great. It's very difficult to find band members in the first place. So finding ones that you actually can work with and get along with, that's like half the battle right there.
That's so true. And I've been so fortunate. I'm so grateful to have the 5 other people that have come into the band that we all genuinely enjoy each other. So like that's base number one. And then when we're on stage, because of that, we have fun. And then because of that, the audience has fun. If it ever became a chore, we're not in this for the money. Like you know how it works. Like we're not making tons of money. So we're here to have fun, allow other people to have fun, create a unique experience. And yeah, I really think if anybody in the band left or like moved to another state or, for whatever reason, it would change a lot because we're a pretty tight crew.
Okay, so you mentioned that connection with the audience and feeding off give and take the energy of it. Where can people find your show schedule and follow you on social media and check you out?
So at Johnny Sincerely is Instagram and Facebook. JohnnySincerely.com is our website. And uh, yeah, I guess that's it.
All right. Well, I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So, what's a message that you have that you want other people to hear?
Well, I end every show that we do by saying, Johnny loves you. Like I if somebody's familiar with, I speak in the third person a lot as Johnny, but Johnny loves you. You are enough just as you are. And if you check out our music and like it, great. Please come to a show. Please support it. If it's not for you, that's okay too. I still love you. You're perfect just the way you